Hello and welcome to my channel, and today we are going to read a little bit of The Silver Eyes. Um, so yeah, uh, just where we got back, where am I at? Okay, right here. Jessica turned her attention back to the curtain, but John began to hum a tune to himself. It reminded me of something, he mumbled. Okay, here I go, Jessica announced. She did not move. Charlie found her eyes drawn to Jessica's hand on the curtain, her pink manicured nails pale against the dark, glittery fabric. It was almost like the hushed moment in the theater crowd when the lights went dark, but the curtain had not yet risen. They were all still. They were all still, all anticipating, but they were not watching a play, no longer playing a game. All the mirth had gone out of Jessica's face. Her cheekbones stood out stark in the shadows, and her eyes looked grim, as though the simple thing she was about to do might be a terrible coincidence. As Jessica hesitated, Charlie realized her hand hurt. She was making a fist so tight her nails dug into her flesh, but she could not force her grip to loosen. A crash sounded from back the way it came, a casting, clinkering noise ringing out and filling the whole space. John and Shirley froze, meeting each other's eyes in sudden panic. Jessica dropped the curtain and leaped off of the stage, bumping into Charlie and knocking the lights out of her hands. "Where's the way out?" she exclaimed, and John came over to help. They hurriedly searched the walls, and Charlie closed the light beam spiraling across the floor, just as they were all back to their feet. Carlton came trotting in. "I knocked over a bunch of pots in the kitchen," he explained, an apology amid the panic. "I thought you were with us," Charlie said. "I wanted to see if there was any food left," Carlton said, not making it clear that he had found anything or not. "Seriously?" John laughed. "That guard might have heard," Jessica said anxiously. "We have to get out of here." They started for the door, and Jessica started running. The Tess took off after her, picking up speed as they reached the hallway until they were racing as though someone were behind them. "Run! Run!" John called out, and they all burst into giggles. The panic frenzied, but the urgency was real. They squeezed back through the door one by one and pushed it shut with the same painful squeal. Carlton and John leaned on it until it sealed. They all took hold of the shelf, hefting it back into place and replacing the tools so that it appeared undisturbed. "Looks good," Jessica said, and John tugged her arm, getting her away. They made their way quickly but carefully back the way they came using only Carlton's penlight, back through the empty hallways and the open atrium to the parking lot. The guard's light did not appear again. "Little anticlimactic," Carlton said with disappointment, checking back one more time in hopes they were being chased. "Are you kidding?" Charlie said as she went to her car, already pulling the keys free from her pocket. She felt as though something locked deep inside her had been disturbed, and she was not sure if that was a good thing or not. "That was fun," John explained, and Jessica laughed. "That was terrifying," she cried. "It can be both," Carlton said, grinning widely. Charlie began to laugh, and John joined it. "What?" Jessica said. Charlie shook her head, still laughing a little. "It's just, we're all exactly the same as we were. I mean, we're totally different in order and everything, but we're the same. You and Carlton sound exactly like you did when you were 6. "Right," Jessica said, rolling her eyes again, but John nodded. "I know what you mean," he said, and so does Jessica. She just doesn't like to admit it. He glanced back at them all. Is everyone sure that the guard didn't see us? We cannot run him now, Carlton said reasonably, his hand resting on the car. I guess, John said, but he did not sound convinced. You haven't changed either, you know, Jessica said, with his own satisfaction. Stop looking for problems where there aren't any. Still, John said, glancing back, we should get out of here. I don't want to push your luck. See you all tomorrow then, Jessica said, as they parted ways. Carlton gave a little wave over his shoulder. Charlie's heart sank a little as Jessica settled herself into the passenger seat. Tidily buckling herself in, she had not been looking forward to this. It wasn't that she didn't like Jessica, just that being alone with her was uncomfortable. She still wasn't much more than a stranger, yet Charlie was still exhilarated from the night's adventure, and the lingering adrenaline gave her new confidence. She smiled at Jessica. After tonight, they suddenly had something very much in common. Do you know which way the motel is, Jess? And Jessica nodded and reached for the purse down at her feet. It was small and black with a long strap, and on the drive to the construction site, Charlie had already seen her remove a lip gloss, a mirror, a pack of breath mints, a sewing kit, and a tiny hairbrush. Now she pulled out a small notebook and pen. Charlie smiled. Sorry, how much stuff do you have in that thing? She asked, and Jessica looked at her with a groan. She's very quick to apologize. The secrets of the purse must not be disclosed, she said playfully, and they both laughed. Jessica started reading Charlie the directions, and Charlie obeyed, turning left and right without paying much attention to her surroundings. Jessica had already checked in, so they went straight to their room, a small beige box of a room with two double beds covered in shiny brown spreads. Charlie set her bags on the bed closest to the door, and Jessica went to the window. As you can see, I splurged on the room with the view, she said, and flung the curtains open dramatically to reveal two dumpsters in a dry-out hedge. I want to have my wedding here. Right, Charlie said, amused. Jessica's prime demeanor and fashion model made it look easy to forget that she was smart as well. As a child, she remembered being slightly intimidated every time they got to play, before realizing after the first few minutes how much she liked Jessica. She wondered if it was hard for Jessica to make friends, looking the way she did. But it wasn't the kind of thing you could really ask someone. Jessica flopped down in the bed, lying across it to face Charlie. So, tell me about you, she said confidently, mocking a talk show host or someone's noisy mother. Charlie shrugged awkwardly, put on the spot. What does that mean? She said. Jessica laughed. I don't know. What an awful thing to ask, right? I mean, how do you answer that? How about school? Any cute boys? Charlie lay down across the bed, mimicking Jessica's position. Cute boys? What are we, 12? Well, Jessica said impatiently. I don't know, she said. Not really. Her class was too small. She had known most of the people in it since she moved with Aunt Jen, and dating anyone, liking them like that, seemed forced and altogether unappealing. She told Jessica as much. Most of the girls, if they want to date, they date older guys, she said. And you don't have an older guy, Jessica teased. Nah, Charlie said. I figured I'd wait around for our batch to grow up. Right. Jessica burst out laughing before quickly thinking of something to share. Last year there was this guy, Donnie, she said. I was gaga for him, like really. He was so sweet to everyone. He wore all black all the time, and he had this black curly hair so thick, all I could think about when I sat behind him was burying my face in it. I was so distracted. I ended up with an A- in trig. He was super artistic, a poet, and he carried around one of those black leather notebooks, and he was always scribbling something in it, but he would never show anyone. She sighed dreamily. I figured if I could get him to show me his poetry, I would really come to know his soul, you know. So, so did he ever? Charlie explained. Oh yeah, she said, nodding empathetically. I asked him out, finally, you know, because he was shy and he never gonna ask me out. And we went to the movies and made out a little. And then we went and hung out on the roof of his apartment building and told him about how I want to study ancient civilizations and go on archaeological digs and stuff. And he showed me his poems. And did you come to know his soul? Charlie said, excited to be included in girl talk, something she felt like she'd never really gotten to participate in before. Charlie nodded eagerly, but not too eagerly. She calmed herself as Jessica scooted forward to the bed, on the bed to whisper, "The poems were awful. I didn't know if it was possible to be both melodramatic and boring at the same time. I mean, like, just reading them made me embarrassed for him." She covered her face in her hands. Charlie laughed. "What did you do?" "What could I do? I told him it wasn't going to work out and went home." Wait, right after we read his poetry? I still had the notebook in my hand. "Oh no, Jessica, that's awful. You must have broken his heart." "I know. I felt so bad, but it was like the words just came out of my mouth. I couldn't stop myself." "Did he ever speak to you again?" "Oh, yeah. Perfectly nice. And now he takes statistics and economics and wears sweater vests." "You broke him!" Charlie threw a pillow at Jessica, who sat up and caught. "I know. He'd probably be a millionaire stockbroker instead of a starving artist, and it's all my fault." She grinned. "Come on, he'll thank me someday." Charlie shook her head. "Do you really want to be an archaeologist?" "Yeah," Jessica said. "Huh?" said Charlie. "Sorry, I thought..." She shook her head. "Sorry, that's really cool." "You thought I wanted to do something in fashion," Jessica said. "Well, yeah." "It's okay," Jessica said. "I did too. I mean, I do. I love fashion. But there's only so much to it, you know. I think it's amazing to think about how people lived 1,000 years ago, or 2,000, or 10. They were just like us, but so different. I like to imagine living in other times, other places. Wonder other places. Wonder who I would have been. Anyway, what about you?" Charlie rolled over onto her back, looking at the ceiling. The tiles were made of loose, stained styrofoam, and the one above her head was askew. "I hope there aren't any bugs up in there," she thought. "I don't know," she said slowly. "I think it's really cool that you know what you want to be, but I just never had that kind of plan." "Well, it's not like you have to figure it out now," Jessica said. "Maybe," Charlie said, "but I don't know. You know what you want to do. John's known since he could hold a pencil that he wanted to be a writer, and he's already getting published. Even Carlton. I don't know what he has planned, but you can just see that there's a scheme brewing behind all his kidding around. But I just don't have that kind of direction." "It doesn't really matter," Jessica said. "I don't think most people know at our age. Plus, I might change my mind or not get into college or something. You never know what's going to happen. Hey, I'm going to get changed. I want to get some sleep." She went into the bathroom, and Charlie stayed where she was, gazing at the sorry-looking ceiling. She supposed it was becoming a defect. Her earnest refusal to consider the past or future, live in the present moment, her Aunt Jen often said, and Charlie had taken it to heart. Don't dwell on the past. Don't worry about things that may never happen. In 8th grade, she had taken the shop class, vaguely hoping the mechanical work might spark something of her father's talent. might unleash some inherited passion laying latent within her, but it had not. She had made a clumsy-looking birdhouse for the backyard. She never took another shop class, and the birdhouse only attracted one squirrel, who promptly knocked it down. Jessica came out of the bathroom wearing pink striped pajamas, and Charlie went in to get ready for bed, changing and brushing her teeth hurriedly. When she came out again, Jessica was already under the covers with the light by her bed turned off. Charlie turned hers off too, but the light from the parking lot still shone in from the windows, somehow filtering past the dumpsters. Charlie stared up at the ceiling again, her hands behind her head. "Do you know what's going to happen tomorrow?" she asked. "I don't really know," Jessica said. "I know it's a ceremony at the school." "Yeah, I know that," Charlie said. "Are we going to have to do anything? Do they want us to speak?" "I don't think so," Jessica said. "Why? Do you want to say something?" "No, I was just wondering." Do you ever think about him?" Jessica asked. "Sometimes I try not to," Charlie said half-truthfully. She had sealed off the subject of Michael in her mind, locked him tight behind a metal wall she never touched. It wasn't an effort to avoid the subject. In fact, it was an effort to think of him now. "What about you?" she asked Jessica. "Not really," she said. "It's weird, right? Something happens, and it's the worst thing you can ever imagine. And it's just burned into you at the time, like it's going to go on forever. And then the years go by, and it's just another thing that happened. It's not like it's not important or terrible, but it's in the past, just as everything else is. You know." "I guess," Charlie said. But she did know. I just try not to think about those things." "Me too. You know, I just went to a funeral last week." "I'm sorry," Charlie said, sitting up. "Are you okay?" "Yeah, I'm fine," Jessica said. "I barely even know him. He was just an old relative who lived 3 states away. I think I met him once, but I hardly remember it. We mostly went for my mom's sake, but it was at an old-fashioned funeral parlor, like in the movies, with the open coffin, and we all walked by the coffin, and when it was my turn, I looked at him, and he could have been sleeping, you know, just calm and restful, like people always say dead people look. There was nothing that I could have pointed out that made me think dead. If you asked me, every feature of his face looked the same as if he were alive. His skin was the same, his hair was the same as if he were alive. But he wasn't alive, and I just knew it. I would have known it immediately, even if it wasn't, you know, in a coffin. I know what you mean. There is something about them when they're," Charlie said softly. "It sounds stupid when I say it, but when I looked at him, he looked so alive, and yet I knew. Just knew that he wasn't. It made my skin crawl. That's the worst thing, isn't it?" Charlie said. "Things that act alive but aren't." "What?" Jessica said. "I mean, things that look alive but aren't," Charlie said quickly. "We should get some sleep," she said. "Did you set the alarm?" "Yes," Jessica said. "Good night." "Night." Charlie didn't knew sleep was still a long way off. She knew what Jessica meant, probably better than Jessica did. The artificial shine in eyes that followed you as you moved, just like a real person would. The slight lurch of realistic animals who did not move in the way a living thing should. The occasional programming glitch that made a robot appear to have done something new, creative. Her childhood had been filled with them. She had grown up in the strange gap between life and not life. It had been her world. It had been her father's world. Charlie closed her eyes. What did that world do to him? So that is it for this reading. I hope you enjoyed it so far. We'll be reading chapter 3 soon. Have a nice day. Bye.